Let's talk about forgiveness, especially self forgiveness, to level up. Welcome to another episode of Healing into Femininity. My name is Joanna, and let's dive right in. So, forgiveness is such a big word, and so many people, in my opinion, have misused that word and abused other people with telling them that forgiveness is a virtue. And today I want to dive a little deeper into the concept of forgiveness, put a little twist to it, and especially creating a foundation. And over here, the foundation is always you are the center of your own universe. You are on the pedestal. You are divine. The divinity, God is in your pussy. God is in your femininity. God is in your sexual power. God is in your creative power. God is your aliveness. It's not some man in the sky, definitely not a white old rich man at the top of the hierarchy. You are taking your power back, and that's exactly what we're doing here. You are the center of your own life. And when we speak about forgiveness, we speak from that set point because we're over here, we're talking about creating the life that you desire in business, very practical, and in every relationship in your life. So, when you are creating, and creating implies that it is a ongoing everyday practice of doing. It's a process. Creating the life you desire is a process that implies that you are moving. You're actively participating in life. You're doing something every day. And if you're here and you want to get to the next level in your business or in your profession or in your career, in your corporate career, in your life in general, you want to first always assess where you are currently, and then you want to see where do I need to go. Once you have done that and you start creating, you start doing, you start producing, you are going to make a lot of mistakes, right? You are in your baby shoes. You're learning to do something. Before you move forward, most of the times, before you can actually move forward with a clean slate and full energy to do something new, you first or simultaneously, what will happen once you want to get to the next level? You are going to bring everything from the past up. That's just how the mind works. Once you have a vision for something new, you have a certain goal of money in your mind, you have a goal of the next level in leadership, you have a goal of a online platform, you have a goal of whatever is your next level. You have that goal, and once you decide that's your goal, at the same time, your everything that is not in alignment with that new goal will come up out of the subconscious mind, out of your memory. Everything that was stored in your subconscious mind up until now will come up. It will rise to the surface to kind of tell you that this needs to be reframed, this needs to be reassessed, it has to be released, it has to, yeah, be transformed in order for all of your self image to be in alignment so you can actually move forward with all of your energy towards that next goal. Understood? Good. So once you say you have a next level goal in your life, all of the old things will come up. And I'm going to make a very, very practical example out of my life. So today I want to share something that hopefully will also give you a perspective about life as a beautiful, success driven woman. And I'm sure that's not just me. So, one thing about me, and I always like to share that, especially on Instagram more than on YouTube, but I'm going to share more about me so you know the context of where I come from. So I have always been a very curious person, very curious, very open minded. And where this has led me was definitely into some very male dominated spaces and also into the sex industry. Meaning, I remember that one time when I was just, I think I was still in university, and I was sitting with my friends, and we was thinking about like if we were able, or if we wanted to enter some kind of close industry to a strip club or a like something around that, because it was intriguing. As I said, we were all very open minded, and we wanted to see how we could make money there, very honestly. So one of my friend, actually, she went to become a like a bar girl. She was behind the bar, and she was something like a room service girl in a bordel. And so this is something that I have been close to, right? She was one of my best friends, and when there was a lot going on during especially fairs, business fairs, high caliber fairs, business, international business weeks, boat and yacht fairs, or other business congresses, fairs, or everything around those topics. This was the busiest time in the bordel. That's why I know a lot of men, a lot of successful men, businessmen, international businessmen. I also studied international business. So, but this is what I know about international businessmen, that they go to visit bordels or even dominatrix studios. There was the bordel, and next to it was a dark room, like a dominatrix studio. So they all knew each other. So we knew that a lot of men came in who were from those business fairs. Why I'm saying that is just for you to understand that the context that I've seen. It's not only my business acumen that I'm sharing, or my transformational perspective, but definitely my real life experience. And one of that was the proximity to this world. So that means I know pimps, I know prostitutes, I know people who work in that industry, strippers, dominatrixes, powerful men, businessmen. Later on, I worked in sales, and I always had that understanding of men, right? I never really glorified men or thought they were like these holy creatures, because I've seen powerful men in those spaces. So, why I'm saying that is I want to dive into another story. I've also always been attracted to the quote unquote alpha men. Today, I wouldn't call it that anymore. But what I dated, or who I dated when I started, really around 19, or like 16, 17, 18, 19, was a football player. So he knew a lot of other football players. And one of these, like one of his friends, he later on, like really years later, we were also friends, right? So we knew each other. And then when he was already married, he contacted me. And later on, just to sum up the story to make it a little, yeah, shorter, was that he was married. He already had a kid by that time. And then he told me that he was in my city. So he tried to make me his little side piece or something while he was away from his wife. And mind you, this is something that happens all the time. He was a former football player, now being in the football management industry. So a real man's terrain. That's what he was doing. And every time he like met me, he told me how boring his wife was. Mind you, she was like the perfect Christian girl. She was a virgin when they married, and she was like the perfect socially acceptable wife. But he didn't felt turned on by her. And again, another detail here was that I believe that even before he married her, because I knew him even before they married, he told me that he had a sex addiction. I don't know why he told me that, but he did. Or not a sex addiction, a porn addiction. He still married her. Good. The porn addiction probably never went away. But then at this point, he tried to like sleep with me, make out with me, kind of make me his side piece, also telling me about other women he has cheated on his wife with, other influences, and just being very open about it. I didn't engage because I told him, like, what does that make me look like, right? No, I'm not going to do that. But I just want to say that I don't believe in forgiving that kind of behavior, because this topic today is about forgiveness, right? So again, as I said, I have met men in the bordel, like literally prostitutes and pimps, and the men coming to take those services, dominatrix services, married men, especially football players and other athletes, just sleeping around, cheating on their wives. So I am a feminist, right? I am a woman who is more for women. That's why I have this business, because I want to let women know what's up, what's the real deal. So I wanted to set that context because, again, if you are here and you want to work on yourself and you want to build anything that is worth building, whether it is a social media platform, a business, the next career step, you have to fully focus on yourself. And when I speak about forgiveness, I am not speaking about forgiving men. It's not about forgiving your married men wherever you are. It's not about taking this information and putting it out of context and then being like, yeah, everybody needs to be forgiven. No, absolutely not. You can't forgive people. And forgiveness, when I speak about forgiveness, it's more about releasing the emotional attachment. It's not necessarily about saying that what anybody did was good, only saying this emotion that I have towards, remember, if you want to go up, if you want to rise, if you want to build something new now, everything from the old memory will come up, especially about you and what you've experienced and what you've engaged in, and also the wrong choices you made, right? All of that will come up. So this will come up, and then also probably again, the mind will go to forgiving others. Let's focus on forgiving you. Okay, good. So we are not forgiving things that really shouldn't be forgiving. It's only about releasing emotional attachment to other people and not keeping the memory as something that constantly triggers our own shame, guilt, fear. That's why I mentioned the man story, because I know that many women see things, but they don't really want to acknowledge them. So if you're in a relationship with somebody, see them for who they are. I have seen men for who they are in any kind of scenario, in different settings, in different situations, in corporate, in the entertainment industry, all of that. So when I speak about forgiveness, again, it's about you. Okay. So I want to dive into the pillars of forgiveness. And one of the fundamental things here is forgiveness is a practice, not an event. And I want you to see forgiveness as more of a energetic hygiene. That's what it is. Forgiveness is energetically, mentally, emotionally cleansing yourself from the things that you judge about yourself while creating. And creating is a messy process, right? You will create whatever it is. Every day is a creation. And at the end of the day, you want to revise your day, check and see what it is that you might not have done so flawlessly, and don't get stuck there and be like, oh my god, I feel ashamed, so I'm not going to do that again. No, continue going. but just release the emotional attachment. That is forgiveness, right? We do that again and again. That is true alchemy. That is emotional hygiene, right? It is about number two, forgiveness as a practice of understanding that whatever it is that you want to create, you are love. You are love, you are the divine, and whatever it is that you feel called to create, the next level of success, power, whatever it is, you want to get there by creating, right? And you have to understand that you are love, right? You are love, and every time you judge yourself and therefore stop doing something because you're a perfectionist, because you judge yourself too much, every time you judge yourself and it stunts your continuation of creation, aka growth, this is what we want to forgive, right? This is what we want to forgive. Good. So, very important. A Course in Miracles also teaches that every act is either a giving of love or a call for love. Again, I see this a little skeptical. It's not about looking outside of ourselves and then therefore finding reasons to forgive, especially men in relationships, right? But it's really about seeing, and this is where I'm now talking about relationships, right? It's really about seeing yourself as the center, and first and foremost forgiving yourself, aka not judging yourself, not judging yourself for the sales call you made and it didn't go the way you intended it. Maybe you made a mistake, but you learned from it, right? So you want to use forgiveness as a practice of rinse and repeat. Rinse yourself out from the judgment, from the emotion, let it go and continue. Continue, because only practice makes perfect, right? So forgiveness happens when we recognize that we are creating ourselves, and we start by being imperfect. We start by coming from a beginner's mind, right? We come from a beginner's mind. So, all of us, we come from a beginner's mind and we start creating. And this is what we want to forgive each and every day, whatever it is that we didn't do as we know that we could, because we have a standard. And that's the next thing. Now, I want to speak about relationships. So, once you have standards for yourself, you have a standard for you, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, how you want to be treated, what are your values, what are the things that are non negotiables. All of those things, you have to know those things subconsciously or consciously. Better yet, consciously. But subconsciously, you will feel what your standard is by knowing that it feels wrong if you do something, right? Because it's not in alignment with your values. And most of the time, the values are a win-win situation, equal give and take, right? That is what most women embody, right? Because you've been so brainwashed to be a good girl, right? So we want to be mindful of whatever comes up from the subconscious mind. And now you have conscious values and conscious boundaries and conscious standards. This is now when we dive into looking at other people, meaning friends and family, and everyone you decide to allow into your life. And here we want to really assess people from a very foundational place. Are those people in alignment with your core values? Do they actually believe in the things that you believe? Do they act upon what they believe in? And have they continuously proven that they can be trusted to some extent? If that foundation is there, this is the only time you can actually forgive, right? Again, we want to set a standard for forgiveness because, yes, if you can forgive people from afar, but this is more of a release of emotion, so you are not triggered, you are not distracted, right? You have to come to a place of don't you're not caring. How do you call it? You don't care, you are indifferent, You are indifferent to people. That is where you most of the time want to be with everybody. This is where you release, if you want to call it forgiveness. You release the attachment. You don't really care. People are too far away for you to actually care. And but then the people around you, who again have to be assessed by their values, by their conduct, the way they move throughout life, if they believe in what you believe, if they act on those beliefs, and if they genuinely have proven that they are worthy to be in your life. If those people make minor mistakes, this is of course also where you want to forgive them, right? Because it's not a big deal. But first of all, you have to set expectations, values, standards, a general prerequisite for them to actually only like be in your life. Okay, good. So that's very important because the thing is we will be betrayed in our lives. Now we're shifting back into, if you want to level up, if you want to get to the next level, this is true emotional work, right? This is the work that you do within yourself in order to liberate yourself, to actually be light and creative, to do the things that you truly desire. So you liberate yourself through understanding that everything will come up to be released, right? The old stories. And one of those stories in most of our lives is that we have been betrayed. So, again, another story. I believe that many times women have been betrayed by either friends, men, colleagues, even family, right? That is part of our human curriculum that moves us towards our divinity, right? We will understand that people are flawed, right? People are flawed, and forgive them because they know not what they do. That's the kind of attitude we want to have. They don't know what they're doing, but that doesn't mean that we are re-inviting those people into our lives, because only people can be close to us who have actually proven that they have a foundational level of morals and values and a way of acting with us, with us and in the world, right? Not just with us, because a person who acts a certain way towards you, but acts completely different out in the world is not a person of integrity. They are opportunists, right? Sometimes they act good with you just probably because they can get something out of you. But if they treat other people like complete shit, then you can see that's their true value system. Understood? Yes, good. So, betrayal is part of the human curriculum, and it is about us. People call it these days, what do people call it? The humiliation ritual. We've all been humiliated, especially most of the time by men, right? Whether they cheated on us, or they threw us under the bus, or whatever, whatever. Right. So each of us, we have the capacity to rise higher than the humiliation ritual, right? The practice of taking whatever happens in our lives and using it to evolve to a higher state. This is the crucifixion moment, right? This is the humiliation moment when you have done something and you realize you have been humiliated, you have been crucified, you have been betrayed. Somebody threw you under the bus, somebody, yeah, cheated on you, betrayed you. This is the moment where you either break or rise higher. Right? And we're here to rise higher. So it's important for you to understand that happened, look it in the face. I believe that if you do not look whatever uncomfortable thing happened to you, if you do not really look at it and assess, how did that happen? Who was the person? Did I assess the person correctly? Because if you don't know better, you can't do better. But once you know better, you do better, right? Once you know, again, who, like, what were my weaknesses? So I fell for that person. What did that person portray? Where I feel now, I could have seen that before, but I didn't know better. Now I know. So in the future, I'm going to do better. And to be very honest, I believe that it is really an assessment of character over time, and having very clear standards, boundaries, right? And not letting people too close into our sphere, into our space, into our minds, into our hearts, into our lives. and really letting them prove themselves. This is what these humiliation rituals are for. Or, yeah, being betrayed, to really assess what happened here. So now you can build from a strong foundation, but you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be very honest with yourself in order to move forward. Because again, let me use myself as an example with this guy, with this married guy who had this perfect Christian virgin wife, but who bored him. He had a sex addiction and a porn addiction, and he tried to sleep with me, and he tried to sleep with other women, probably did. This guy, like me, assessing his character, I should have never met him, like not even for a drink outside while he was in my city, right? I shouldn't have met him because I knew he was married. And with our story before, because as I said, I knew him even before he was married, I should have never met him. So this is where I am today. I don't meet married guys. Why would I meet them? What for? Right? Why would we meet? Right? Only if you can actually give me money or a real business opportunity that is very clearly communicated. We have no business meeting. So I had to assess myself, right? Before he tried to sleep with me, it had to come to the situation where he could actually suggest it. So I had to look myself in the face and be like, okay, like I'm not going to let that happen again. So I can only move forward from a place of understanding and being honest with myself, where I have been unaware, naive, right? Unaware, naive, and believing in the good, or also, and I think that's a even more interesting and fundamental puzzle piece for women. And I'm speaking for myself only for educational purposes here. Because one thing that I realized with him and also with another man, I'm going to share that story another time, but these were my experiences where I really had to learn. And we call that sacred friends, right? The people who come into our lives who actually cause a lot of pain, those people are our sacred friends. They make us wake the fuck up, right? They make us wake the fuck up. The more hurtful the experience, the more humiliating the experience, the more crucial, like evil the experience, maybe even an experience where you were just on the brink of either getting hurt or getting killed, right? Those things happen to women, right? And those things, many times, it takes too much of a painful situation for women to wake up. But those things are called, let's call it in the spiritual world, our sacred friends. They make us wake up. So we want to also let go of the, sure, it's a process. First you grieve whatever happens, then you become angry, and that's okay. Let that fire burn. But then at one point in your journey you will release it, and that's the forgiveness again. You're going to be like, okay, I'm not forgiving that person, but I am no longer holding on to the negative feeling inside of me that is constantly being created when I think about that person. Because when that happens, you're giving away your power. And now think about all of the things that happen in your life, or maybe in the life of people that you love, where you are getting triggered and you're mad and you are angry. This will sabotage you because you are not in control of your emotions, right? It's okay to have emotions, absolutely, and you can use them, but at one point you will have to forgive the situation, to let it go, so you're no longer a victim to the situation or a victim to the feeling. Because making you angry will do something for you that is not necessarily a pleasurable experience, right? You understand? So it's important for you to let that go. But again, coming back to the situation, the more hurtful the situation was, the bigger lesson is going to be in the situation for you. And something that I learned with that married man and with another guy was that it is important for me to acknowledge, why did I even meet that person? And many times it comes from a place of maybe loneliness, right? You're lonely or you're bored. If Because if you have your life in control, like you're you're good, right? You're not struggling. Many times, this is where I believe women, especially, sabotage themselves because you have the peace, you have the time, you have the leisure, you have maybe, right, the space. You're happy with yourself, you love yourself, and you are at a place of giving from an overflowing cup. But then someone will come in and want to see you, or and you are saying yes because there's still a part of you that needs the male validation, right? Because you want to be validated just by him calling you and saying, hey, let's meet. Or you are like, oh, I want to be taken out and I am going to let him pay. That's okay. If you can play the game, but understand what part of you is actually saying yes to it. And if you have a part of you where you're like, I want to be taken out, I want to get male attention, I want somebody to find me attractive, I want somebody to tell me something I want to hear, or you just think that by that person calling you that they actually like you or a friendship is being built, let me tell you, no. People also call you because they are bored. It's not because of you. And if you are too accessible, this will happen many times, right? So it's important again to ask yourself, what inside of me made me say yes to meeting that person? Right? Because that's the first thing where it all starts. It starts with you, the way you think, the way you feel about yourself, your self esteem. And sometimes it's not fully developed. That's why those situations happen, right? That's why we need to hear, forgive ourselves, but only release the situation, not by just skimming over it, but by being aware that there was a lesson in it. The sacred friends, the most painful situation that we've ever been in, is a spiritual catalyst. Unfortunately, most of the time, unfortunately, that's how it is. Most people, most women will have to be beaten down by life, by business partners, by lovers, by friends, and be exploited so much until they wake the fuck up to then rise higher. But it only happens when you identify within yourself the weakness, the desire for attention, the desire to be taken out, the desire to spend time, the desire to, yeah, get attention, talk to somebody, but always come from a very self-aware perspective of, why are you actually saying yes to it? And can you, like, do you want to do that? Really, if you engage your mind, because the man was married, right? Or this man has already told you that he's a sex addict, that he is a porn addict, that he's a womanizer, that he's a narcissist, whatever. Most of the time we see the clues already, but there's a weakness inside of us that make us engage in a situation that will lead to the most humiliating, most self-degrading, most painful situation that turns into a sacred friend, somebody that wakes us up so we can actually rise higher. So that's why I believe you actually can't really teach people things. They have to get hurt, burnt so much that they then decide to learn. Only then. Only then. And for some people, it never comes because they don't have the capacity to think for themselves, to reflect for themselves, to self inquire. And that's why I'm putting out this episode. Because again, self forgiveness is the way to ascension, but therefore you have to let all the muck come up from the ground, right? It has to rise to the surface, all of the shadows, all of the things that you have experienced because you played a part in it. It has to come up. But if you don't dare to let it come up because you can't take it, you can't look yourself in the face and say, oh, I played a part in that, that's why this happened with me or to me or for me. It happened for you only if you understand what was the lesson in it, so you can take the diamond and rise higher. Because ultimately, all forgiveness is self forgiveness, as I said. It's all forgiveness is self forgiveness for every part of ourselves that we keep suppressed, right? There is something in you that doesn't allow yourself to see your weakness. For every part that is suppressed in you, a part inside of you, as I just said, that there was a part in me for me to meet this married man was some kind of power seeking part inside of me, a, a part of me that needed validation, a part of me that was bored, a part of me that thought that just him calling me would grant me a pleasant experience, whether it is like a coffee, going out, whatever. But it is always tied to something, right? If you are full and if you are like, oh, no, I don't want to engage in that, it will never happen. So let everything that is inside of you come to the surface and dare to see it, because the biggest sabotage we have is inside of us, and it's the part of us that pretends that we are holier than thou, and that we have no weakness, or that we don't have power seeking tendencies. Because one thing that I can say at this point about women is that if you are not aware of a tendency inside of you, and that tendency is a power seeking tendency, you want power over men. You want to be desired. You want to be this magnetic siren. You want to dominate. Right? You want to get what it is that you want. And that's fine. I want that too. Right? But I had to come to a place where I was honest enough with myself to admit that's what I want. I want to be desired. I want to get gifts. I want to receive money. I want to receive pleasant experiences. I want a man to take me out, right? But as long as you are not willing and able to say it the way I just did, you are going to be ruled by those shadow desires inside of you, and then it's going to come out in a position where you are not the one who is actually dominating the playing field, because it is not conscious to yourself. I hope you understand what I'm putting down. If you don't allow yourself to admit to yourself that you want to be the siren, you want to have power, you want to attract, you want to have attention, you want to be validated, you want all of those things that women seek from men, but many times also seek from other people. If you don't allow yourself to own that part of you, you are still um, ruled by your own desires, but then it's going to come out in a impulsive, in a negative way. Right? It's going to come out either way, if you admit it or not. But once you admit it, you can actually unpack it and then constructively use it while you are in control. If you do not constructively use it by being aware of those power seeking tendencies, it will run you over and you will land again in another humiliating situation, because you wanted that attention, you wanted to be loved and catered to, but then you played yourself like small, or you fawned, or you did some kind of survival tactic in order to get it, but then you will lose. I really think that you understand what I'm saying, right? So it's important again to forgive yourself for that, because there is no shame, no condemnation, right? We want to free ourselves of shame, because that's it. We want to free ourselves of the shame and the guilt for wanting power as women, wanting power, wanting control, wanting resources, wanting pleasant experience. Once you own that, you are free, and you can wield that power more consciously, more intentionally, without this desire ruling you. You have to dominate that desire. You have to own it in order to wield it wisely. Take yourself out of the closet in terms of letting whatever has been in the dark come up, and own it and say, yes, I forgive myself for whatever happened, but more so, I release myself of the shame. I release myself of the shame around what I've done when I was still pretending to be a good girl. Because that is literally the lid. That is the good girl conditioning. It's the lid on top of who you truly are, because all of us, we have the desire to create something powerful. We want to be powerful. We want to be sexy. We want to feel good. As I said, I've been in those industries where it is about those things, where it's about money. I've been in sales, right? I've been in sales. I've been in business. I've been around men. I've been especially about around men who are not ashamed of those desires. Men are going to say like, I want that money. I want that money, right? And women feel shy to say that. Men are going to the bordel and say, I want to be dominated. I want you to do this and this for me, and I'm going to pay for it. That's what men do all day, every day, right? And especially as women, we have to first understand that that's what we want too. We want power, right? We have desires. And once you let those things come up, forgive yourself, or say, release yourself from shame and guilt for your own desires. You free yourself. You let yourself, you come out of the closet. And this is where you ascend into a higher position. First, the humiliation, you take the diamond, the awareness out of it. And the awareness is, why did that happen? I want more for myself, right? I want more for myself. That is ultimately what forgiveness is for. It's about freeing yourself from judging yourself for wanting what you truly want. And as soon as you know what you truly want and you say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, now you are in a place of power where you can actually negotiate without playing dumb or without playing naive or actually being naive. Because again, men are not naive. They know exactly what is going on most of the time, especially when it's about relationship, when it's about transaction, when it's about meeting a woman, right? They will know what their intention is, whether it is attention, whether it is they want their ego to be stroked, or not only their ego, right? They know that they want that. And that's what women need to learn too, to understand that I want that. I want to close the deal. I want to win. I want the power. I want the attention. I want the desire. And once you're conscious of it, you can go out and get it for yourself by consciously putting that front and center and say, yeah, that's what I want. I'm positioning myself for that. And as I said in the beginning, only when you have freed yourself from the judgment of yourself, you can now position yourself to level up. Only then, only then you can position yourself to actually say, yes, I am here in this race for fame, for money, for getting my ego stroked, for getting my desires met, to get paid, right? All of those things. This is what women do not dare to say, but that is what the humiliation ritual actually is for. Just like the Jesus story, I don't yet know if that's actually a good story, but he got crucified. He got humiliated in front of everybody. And the story is about him rising to a higher dimension, meaning he died. And that's not what I talk about. Like, I believe you don't have to die physically. Again, this is the misconception of women. They think they have to die physically in order to get to heaven, in order to become the spiritual being that is worthy of worship, just like Jesus. He only got worship when he died. No, you don't have to physically die. It's an ego death. It's an ego death. And this is what I mean. You have to look at yourself and the old version of yourself, the good girl conditioning, the naive girl conditioning of thinking, oh, I just wanted to meet him and I just wanted to be friends. And then you realize, no, actually, I wanted to be desired. I wanted to be paid. I wanted to have a good experience. I wanted to get validation. Once you realize that, this is where an old version of you dies. And this is where you ascend, just like Jesus died after being crucified. You ascend into a holier, if we want to call it that, into a holier, more powerful position of yourself. This is when you become the incarnated goddess. This is when you become your own source, right? This is when you become the siren or whatever you want to be. This is when you become the woman who gets what she wants because she knows what she wants. She's honest about what she wants. She claims it. She positions herself for it. She asks for it. And she declines everybody who's not willing to pay the price. right? This is where you end up through the transformation of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness meaning facing your old identity and saying, it's okay. I no longer shame you for that. I own it now. My pursuit, and I always like to say it again, there's only two reasons why people do what they do. It's always the pursuit of power and privilege, and you are not exempt from it. So, the more you integrate that shadow inside of you and say, yeah, that's true. I'm here for power. I'm here to claim my power. I'm here to build my power, and I'm here to protect my power, right? And then you can continue to go for it, do it, create, rinse and repeat, forgive yourself for the mistakes you make because you're building from a place of the um the beginner self, and do it again and again and again and again, creating yourself the most powerful, lush, sexual, desired version of yourself by also knowing like your price, right? What is it that you're willing to negotiate, right? You want to come up, be her, but not getting exploited or not getting advantage taken advantage of, because again the humiliation ritual is over. Now you have to play another game, and now we're playing a game of power, privilege, progress, and protection. Very important. You have to protect yourself by putting boundaries up, right? People can only access you if they have proven themselves to be worthy of your time, energy, attention, let alone your body and your sexual favors. Okay, so that is it today about forgiveness and really transforming the idea of what forgiveness truly is. Number one, it's for you and not so much about other people. And if you want to forgive other people, let them prove themselves that they're actually worthy to continue to stay in your life. Other people will be forgiven from afar because they don't know what they do and they're deeply entrenched in ignorance. But the people who have proven themselves worthy by their standards, by their behavior, by their love and support in your life, and it's a mutual beneficial relationship, those people may make mistakes too. So we truly assess that from a solid foundation of self-respect and respect for you and others. Okay, so that's it for now. Let me know how you found that. I would love to hear your comments, and I will see you in the next one. And if you truly want to level up and play the game right, there are also resources in the description box down below. Get into the membership, book a one-on-one call with me. Let's see if you're a good match so I can help you strategize for success and power, whether it is in your career, in corporate, or in your business, because all of those principles pay onto the account of self-mastery, and that is a holistic level up. All right, so that's it. See you in the next one. Bye.